All right, hello. My name is James Corwell. I'm a student in cs6460 Educational Technology, and this is the spring 2019 semester. I wanted to do a little presentation on my paper titled Towards a Topology of Educational Technology's Role in Globalism. So what's the problem presented here? The main problem presented is that we need to better define remote education's role in globalization. The world's getting a lot smaller, the internet is cheaper, everybody has a smartphone these days, whether or not you're in Vietnam, Africa, or Atlanta, Georgia. So what does this mean in the coming years, and what does educational technology's role look like in this future? So in regards to globalization, Zimbalist and Charambos have a perspective that the digital age is bringing about a form of electronic colonization, and that they're creating a global culture within a network society. And they're afraid that you're seeing cultures kind of washed away in the event of in favor of Western cultures. Anecdotally, this is kind of the inspiration of why I wanted to research this, because I lived in Southeast Asia for a little while, and there's a tourist route that a lot of people take called the Banana Pancake Trail, because all these foreigners come and they don't prefer the local food, and so all of the residents of these towns have begun cooking banana pancakes for all of the foreign tourists there. And in a sense, it's kind of a way of washing over their own local culture to cater to their colonists, which is, of course, a dramatization of the experience. And I did an extensive literature review on this in my paper, but just to show that there's no right or wrong about globalism, there's two excerpts on the bottom that show a positive effect from globalism as well as a negative effect from the tourist industry. The left one being in regards to Indonesia tourist industry, and the right one in regards to Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam. So what kind of challenges have been faced and should be widely addressed? Well, everybody has a mobile phone these days in the world. This could give increased access to education. There's a lot of research supporting this. In particular, a lot of educational technology students have touched on this as well. Then there's developing personalized MOOCs while trying to automate or lessen the complexity of that. Then there's MOOCs for limited internet, communication barriers, and interpersonal isolation within MOOCs. We need to make a sense of community in every educational endeavor, and that's one that's been traditionally difficult for internet-based courses. And these are all things that are out there now and should be used more. A lot of this research comes from other educational technology students from prior semesters. In order to push this research a little bit further, I did a survey of OMSCS students. I wanted to understand who they are, what their habits are, as well as kind of get their ideas and their opinions on what I had researched. So here's the the general question scheme. I want to know who they are. Are they from a developing country? How do they feel is the economic value of their degree that they're receiving? How do they feel about traveling, digital nomads? What technologies are of particularly great assistance to them in being successful? And what suggestions do they have in regards to making MOOCs more accessible to students in developing countries? So some of these questions are quantitative in nature, the first half, and the rest of them are qualitative. So the quantitative ones are a bit easier to analyze. We can just make a grouped histogram plot, and this gives us a few key takeaways. Students tend to support the idea of other students traveling. Digital nomads are viewed favorably among the student body, and students from developing countries have slightly greater optimism about the value of their degree. The student body is young, and most travel at least twice a year, while many travel more than 6 times a year. This kind of gives us an idea of who we are, and that we support each other traveling, things like that. You know, nothing kind of groundbreaking with this, I suppose. The survey results show that the top technology stack, that the top technologies that have been of assistance to the students include the internet, Google, Piazza, Slack, Udacity, YouTube, Canvas, Hangouts, and MOOCs. And this really maps the stack that we use at OMSCS daily. So that's no surprise there either. And I think that really speaks, Miles, to how well OMSCS has kind of adapted to what's out there, and I think that really this stands as a testament that it's working well. Nobody really had any complaints with it, or really too many alternatives outside of it. The real key from the survey that the survey offered was when the students offered what suggestions they think could have been great to assist students in developing countries. And they kept coming up with 3 key areas. First one being interpersonal assistance. You know, they want to see more human faces to help these people out, or a guide to help these students out. You know, if you're from Vietnam, a guide in Vietnamese to OMSCS would be really helpful. The next key area that the students really touched on was internet independence. There's really no reason for all these courses to completely rely on the internet. You should be able to go to your library, have access to a computer, download a course, and be able to work on it. And maybe once a week, go back to the library for the internet. I think that's how most OMSCS students work anyways, so something like that. And a really direct one that, you know, I haven't seen with MOOCs yet is multi-language support. Just have everything in a different language so that, you know, students from different countries can do them. I think that's very direct and a simple implementation. So in conclusion, we got really great contributions from our peers about ways to improve the MOOC experience. Most students were not explicitly concerned about globalization. They generally thought that people around the world would benefit from this, from the increased technology, from the increase in travel, tourism. And I think that makes sense given who we are as computer science students and what our backgrounds are. The literature doesn't quite support our opinion, so it shows we have a pretty strong bias compared to the tumultuousness of the literature. The opinions that we got here, though, generally didn't differ between students from developing countries or students from developed countries. And I think the key takeaway for me personally is whether globalization is inherently good or bad, educational technology could direct the world into a fairer, better educated world. I absolutely love all the suggestions that we got here. I like that I was able to pool a lot of previous research into one place. And I think everything suggested in this paper could really help create a platform for designing the next MOOC that's more accessible to people in developing countries. Thank you very much.